Only 24 hours after the end of the Mugello Grand Prix, we've already received some of the biggest bombshell news that we'll get all year in MotoGP. Today we have received the news that Jorge Martin will be leaving Ducati in 2025 to join Aprilia, meaning Marc Marquez will become Pecco Bagnaiy's teammate for 2025. This is some massive news that will have a big effect on the current championship and the MotoGP going forwards. But first, let's have a look at why this has happened and how it's all happened, because to be honest, it looked like certain that Jorge Martin would be Bagnaiy's teammate for next year, but it's all been flipped on its head today. I'll see cat. Cat's here to help filming, everyone. She's helping film today's video. This all started on Thursday when Gazzello dello Sport was reporting that Jorge Martin was set for the factory Ducati seat for 2025. They reported that Jorge Martin's agent was in Mugello ready to sign all the contracts that weekend, and that Jorge Martin would be partnering Pecco Bagnaia for 2025. Jorge Martin then responded to these rumours by saying this in an interview.
Well, for sure, all the journalists always do some speculation, so it's difficult to understand what they write. For sure, the deal is not done. It was our first contact, and I think everything went well, but, it's on my manager now, and I cannot say anything or do anything about it. It's just his work, so let's see.
Basically explaining that he received the first contact from Ducati, but there was nothing official yet, but he felt like talks went well and he felt confident that he would be getting that Ducati seat for next year. However, there's one crucial detail I missed out, and that is they are waiting for Jorge Martin to give his approval to join Pramac for 2025. Let's see what Marc had to say about that.
Yeah, Pramac is a very good team. As Martin showed, have a very good potential, but it's not an option for me.
So, Marc Marquez immediately shut down the option of Pramac, saying, "Pramac is not an option for me." He made it clear that he would only join a new team if it was going to be a factory team, otherwise he would just stay at Gresini. He did not want to move from a satellite team to another satellite team in Pramac. For him, the options were to either stay at Gresini, become Bagnaiy's teammate on the Works Ducati, or move to a different factory team like KTM. Now this seemingly surprised Ducati. Ducati's sporting director Mauro Gazzari said, "We were not ready for these declarations by Marquez," meaning that they were not expecting for Marquez to reject Pramac in this way. Now one option that was being thrown around was that maybe Ducati would provide a fifth factory bike for Marquez to go on to for 2025 for the Gresini team, meaning that they'd have 5 factory bikes on the grid. However, Ducati pretty quickly shut this down, saying that they were not considering a 5th GP25 bike, meaning Ducati had to make a crucial decision: either stick with Martin and give him the bike that they've told him he'd get, or change their mind and move Marquez onto that bike for next year, because he had made it clear he wanted a factory bike and he wanted to be Bagnaiy's teammate. So what did Ducati do? They chose Marc Marquez. Ducati has made a decision to bet on Marc Marquez at all costs for the factory MotoGP team, which will force Jorge Martin to leave the manufacturer. This was reported at 3 o'clock this afternoon, showing that Ducati had made a U-turn and they had now chosen Marc Marquez, meaning that Jorge Martin would be leaving. Now this was all sort of speculation at this point, until about 5 o'clock when Aprilia announced Jorge Martin to join Aprilia Racing in 2025 on a multi-year deal. So clearly Jorge Martin saw that Ducati had chosen Marc Marquez, and he basically said, "Screw you Ducati, I'm not letting you change your mind again," and he chose Aprilia. To Jorge Martin, the fact that they had told him that he'd be getting that factory seat for next year and then changed their mind and gone to Marc Marquez was the final straw for him, and he went with Aprilia. Even if Ducati changed their mind again and went back to Martin, the damage was already done for Martin, and he has now joined Aprilia for next year. And apparently the deal was only signed half an hour before it was actually announced. Jorge Martin wanted to get this out to the public as soon as possible. So, what does this mean for the championship? Because this will be big. To start with, I think that now Jorge Martin is going to try a lot harder to win that World Championship. We can tell he's already trying very hard, but I think he's going to add that extra motivation now to want to prove Ducati wrong and show why they should have chosen him and not Marquez. This will have lit a fire underneath Jorge Martin, and he's going to want to prove Ducati wrong. As well as this, I think up until now Jorge Martin has been relatively careful when fighting Bagnaia. Any overtake made on him has been relatively clean because he knew if he crashed out Bagnaia he would be damaging his chance of getting that factory seat for 2025. However, it has now been announced that he will not be riding for Ducati next year and he will not care about any relationships he's built up with Ducati. I think we're going to see a lot more aggressive version of Jorge Martin pulling off a lot more audacious overtakes on the likes of Bagnaia in order to win the World Championship. He will not care at all about ruining any relationship with Ducati, because to him, they've already broken that trust between him and Ducati. Another big thing is, what does this mean for Enea Bastianini, because he was heavily linked with going to Aprilia for next year, and it's sort of left him in a bit of an awkward position now. Because while it hasn't been announced yet, it is certain that Marc Marquez will be getting Bastianini's seat for next year. So where does Bastianini go now that the seat at Aprilia is seemingly gone? Well, Maverick Vinales still hasn't signed a contract with Aprilia, so there is still a possibility of Martin and Bastianini linking up with Aprilia. Another option for Enea could be he just toughs out with Ducati and goes on to the Pramac, but would he accept that? Would he do that? I'm not too sure. The only other option for him really is KTM, and I don't really see Bastianini going on to a KTM. And honestly, I think the most likely thing is that he joins Martin on Aprilia and then Maverick Vinales goes to somewhere like Honda, because that has been a rumour that's been floating around recently. So what will this mean for next year in terms of how competitive it is? I think this is going to really improve competitiveness in MotoGP for next year. Because while the title race has been fun, it has sort of just been between the Ducatis at the moment. Jorge Martin, Bagnaia and Marc Marquez are the three best riders on the grid at the moment. And they're all on Ducatis. However, with Martin now going to Aprilia, we're going to have different manufacturers fighting each weekend. It's not just going to be Ducati at the front every time. Jorge Martin on that Aprilia will be up there as well, which will make things even more exciting and competitive for next year. Also, Marc Marquez will now be given the best and a brand new version of the Ducati, meaning that he'll have equal machinery to Bagnaia. And with both of them on a level playing field, Marquez could become a serious monster next year. I'm already so much looking forward to next year in MotoGP. It's going to be so entertaining. Of course, now that Martin has left Pramac, it means there's now a spare seat on that Pramac. It's pretty much already confirmed that Fermin Aldeguer will take one of the seats, but who will be his teammate? Bastianini is an option. Somebody like Bezzecchi could go there. Di Giannantonio. Or maybe Ducati could take a punt on someone who's out of a contract. Maybe somebody random like Joan Mir or Miguel Oliveira. That'd be quite fun. I think the most likely option though is that they go with either Di Giannantonio or Bezzecchi. They're both Italian riders, they're both good riders, I think they'd both do well on that Pramac bike. It makes sense for either of them to go to Pramac. Well, we might have a 4-week break now until the next MotoGP race, but the silly season in the transfer market is making up for that. It's providing us with so much entertainment already. And with the biggest transfer of next season already being announced, the MotoGP grid for next year is already starting to take its shape, and it's making me so excited for next year. We're going to have Marc Marquez and Bagnaia both on equal machinery fighting Jorge Martin, who's now on a completely different bike. We'll have the likes of Pedro Acosta, who is now confirmed to be going to factory KTM. Bastianini, if he goes to Aprilia, he could be in the championship battle as well. It's going to be so good in 2025. What do you guys make of all of this? Has Jorge Martin made the right decision in going to Aprilia? Have Ducati made the wrong decision in choosing Marc Marquez? Let me know in the comments. And while you're there, make sure to leave a like on the video and remember to subscribe to the channel. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.